I'm talking about not what your parents and teachers want you to be, but you. I'm talking about figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy, no matter how crazy it may sound to the people.
Hey everyone, welcome to the video. I'm actually wanting to start a new React video series type where I break down and analyze really successful people and how they did it. That is one of my favorite things to do. So I found it fitting to be one of the first in our candidacy here would be former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and one of my personal favorite action heroes. So, all right, let's get into it.
They say to me, what is the secret to success? And I give them always this short version. I say, number one, come to America. Number two, work your butt off. And number three, marry a Kennedy. But anyway. These are the short rules. Now today I'm going to give you the 6 rules of success. But before I start, I just wanted to say these are my rules. And I think that they can apply to anyone. But that is for you to decide, because not everyone is the same. There's some people that just like to kick back and coast through life, and others want to be very intense and want to be number one and want to be successful. That's like me. I always wanted to be very intense. I always wanted to be number one.
One of the main rules that I live by in life is show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
I took it very seriously in my career. So this was the same when I started with bodybuilding. I didn't want to just be a bodybuilding champion. I wanted to be the best bodybuilder of all times. The same was in the movies.
That was actually something my mom taught me and raised me to be like from a very early age. She said, son, if you're going to commit to something, you do it big, just because you can. If you have that potential within you, why not tap into it? It'd be awesome. You know, I completely resonate with that kind of philosophy, but at the same time, you don't go around tooting your own horn. You just do your thing, you become an expert at your craft, and you let the world be gifted with the things that you can do. And if everybody in the world practiced their craft, there would be many, many, many gifts in this world. I promise you that.
I didn't want to just be a movie star. I wanted to be a great movie star that's the highest paid movie star and have the BAFTA title billing. And so this intensity always paid off for me. This commitment always paid off for me. So here are some of the rules. The first rule is trust yourself. And what I mean by that is so many young people are getting so much advice from their parents and from the teachers and from everyone. But what is most important is that you have to dig deep down and ask yourselves, who do you want to be? Not what, but who.
You have to know that you're going to leave an indelible mark on the earth whenever you leave. And that's why living as a human is a battle every day. Choose your battles, okay? Choose your battles. Pick your battles.
And I'm talking about not what your parents and teachers want you to be, but you. I'm talking about figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy, no matter how crazy it may sound to the people.
One of the main ways that I've been able to figure out personally what makes me happy has been identifying with myself. Having a profound sense of self-identity really has helped me to go, no, I don't like that. I don't like raw tomato. I don't like raw onion, but I like this. So learn to develop that sense of self-identity. I'm telling you, it's one of the best gifts that you can give yourself in life.
I was lucky growing up because I did not have the television, or I didn't have telephones. I didn't have the computers and the iPods. And of course, Twitter was then something that birds did outside the window. But I didn't have all the distractions and all this. I spent a lot of time by myself so I could figure out and listen to what is inside my heart and inside my head. And I recognized
That's one of the main things that Carl Jung talks about, is the separation of the outside illuminates the inside. Learn that self-identity.
And listen to what is inside my heart and inside my head. And I recognized very quickly that inside my head and heart were a burning desire to leave my small village in Austria. Not that there was something wrong with Austria, it's a beautiful country, but I wanted to leave that little place and I wanted to be part of something big. The United States of America, a powerful nation, the place where dreams can come true. I knew when I come over here I can realize my dreams. And I decided that the best way for me to come to America was to become a bodybuilding champion, because I knew that was my ticket. The instant that I saw a magazine cover of my idol, Reg Park, He was Mr. Universe. He was starring in Hercules movies. He looked strong and powerful. He was so confident. So when I found out he got that way, I became obsessed, and I went home and I said to my family, I want to be a bodybuilding champion. Now you can imagine how that went over in my home in Austria. My parents, they couldn't believe it. They would have been just happy if I would have become a police officer like my father, or married someone like Heidi, who had a bunch of kids and ran around like the Van Trapp family in Sound of Music. That's what my family had in mind for me, but something else burned inside me. Something burned inside me. I wanted to be different.
That sounds a lot like what my mom wanted for me, is to get married and have 12 kids. And she wanted to be called grandmama and all that. Oh man, I totally resonate with this.
Determined to be unique. I was driven to think big and to dream big. Everyone else thought that I was crazy.
So there's a wonderful saying where he just said here, think big, dream big. If your dreams aren't big enough to scare you, you're not dreaming big enough.
Something burned inside me. I wanted to be different. I was determined to be unique. I was driven to think big and to dream big. Everyone else thought that I was crazy. My friend said, if you want to be a champion in a sport, why don't you go and become a bicycle champion or a skiing champion or a soccer champion? Those are the Austrian sports. But I didn't care. I wanted to be a bodybuilding champion and use that to come to America and use that to go into the movies and make millions of dollars. So, of course, for extra motivation, I read books on strongmen and on bodybuilding and looked at magazines. And one of the things I did was I decorated my bedroom with...
Okay, so this actually makes a lot of sense based on something that we now know called the law of attraction. Arnold is practicing visualization here. Painting his room, well, I say painting, but pasting his room with all these posters of the strongmen from the magazines and imaging himself in his own mind of what he wanted to be. This is a very powerful tool in the law of attraction, because visualizing your goal and seeing it every day, humans we're persistence hunters by nature, okay? So we used to hunt our prey, which wasn't prey. We used to hunt our food by, it would wake up, it would walk across the plains of ancient worlds, of our ancient world, and then we would follow it, and then it would just keep on walking, and we would follow it, and we would follow it, and it'd lay down to sleep, and we'd lay down to sleep, and it'd wake up the next day, until eventually it got so tired that it would just lay down, and then we'd walk up and bash it with a rock. Humans are persistence hunters by nature. Determination is written within our DNA. Visualization is something that allows you to keep re-imprinting your DNA every day with this new vision. You are like a quantum machine, just building this future from this thought, okay? And that's why this is one of the most important rules that he had, was pasting his walls with these muscle men and the images, okay? The images are what's important. It's not what's on there. It's just seeing your goal, or being reminded of your goal every day, imprinting it on your mind every single day, that this is what you want to do and this is who you are. I am who am. Okay, that's the goal.
Window of my bedroom wall. Right next to my bed, there was this big wall that I decorated all with pictures. I hung up pictures of strongmen and bodybuilders and wrestlers and boxers and so on. And I was so excited about this great decoration that I took my mother to the bedroom and I showed her. And she shook her head. She was absolutely shocked. And tears started running down her eyes.
Oh no.
And she called the doctor. She called the house doctor. And she brought him in and she explained to him, there's something wrong here. She said, she looked at the wall with the doctor. She says, where did I go wrong? I mean, all of Arnold's friends have pictures on the wall of girls.
Poor
and
mom.
Arnold has all this men, but it's not just men, they're half naked. And they're oiled up with baby oil. I mean, what is going on here? Where did I go wrong? So you can imagine. I
can only imagine how that went over in a very high Austrian family's household whenever this was happening, 60s and 70s. Good Lord.
The doctor shook his head and he said, there's nothing wrong. At this age, you have idols and you go and have this. This is just quite normal. So this is rule number one. I wanted to become a champion. I was on a mission. So rule number one is, of course, trust yourself no matter how and what anyone else thinks. And of course, rule number two is break the rules. We have so many rules in life about everything. I say break the rules, not the law, but break the rules. My wife has a t-shirt My wife has a t-shirt that says, well-behaved women rarely make history.
My mom said that too. So one of the things that I wanted to point out where Arnold here says break the rules. So you got to know the rules to break the rules. That's one of the rules of the game. So life is like an RPG game. This is like the book that I'm writing. This is actually a section of the whole book that I'm writing. RPG coach, life coach. Life is experienced, earned, mistakes earned, lessons learned. So with mistakes comes wisdom and enlightenment. You will level up over a fair amount of time in order to get to where your goal is actually at. Okay, you have to climb the mountain of expertise. That's just the only way up.
Well, you know, I don't want to burst her bubble, but the same is true with man. It is impossible to be a maverick or a true original if you're too well behaved and don't want to break the rules.
So one of the key components is you have to know the rules to break the rules. And that just means never become a 5, okay? Because the world takes out 5s, all right? That's like the flies on the cow's back and the tail comes up, smacks it. Never be noticeable. But it's okay to be aware, self-aware and all that kind of stuff. That's part of that self-identity and everything, knowing what you want, knowing what you don't want. But don't be a nuisance, okay? It's hard to be a maverick. It's hard to be a trailblazer because you're literally having to cut your way through a new path, okay? The road less traveled is less traveled because it's hard. And even President JFK said, we choose to do these things because they are hard, not the other things. So choose to do the things because they're hard. I'm telling you, it'll create such a brighter future than anything you ever thought possible, okay? Don't ever be afraid. Don't be afraid.
You have to think outside the box. That's what I believe. After all, what is the point of being on this earth if all you want to do is be liked by everyone and avoid trouble? The only way that I ever got any place was by breaking some of the rules. After all, I remember that after I was finished with my bodybuilding career, I wanted to get into acting and I wanted to be a star in films. You can imagine what the agents said when I went to meet all those agents. Everyone had the same line that it can't be done. The rules are different here. Just look at your body. You have this huge, monstrous body, overly developed, that doesn't fit into the movies. You don't understand. This was 20 years ago, the Hercules movies. Now there's the little guys that are in. Dustin Hoffman, Woody Allen, Chuck Nicholson, before he gained weight, of course, that is. But anyway, those are the guys that are in.
Damn.
And the agent also complained about my accent. He says, no one ever became a star with an accent like that, especially not with a German accent. And yes, I can imagine with your name, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or whatever the name is, on a billboard. Yeah, that's going to draw
Schnitzel is delicious.
a lot of tickets and sell a lot of tickets. Yeah, right. So this is the kind of negative attitude they had, but I didn't listen to those rules. Even though they were very nice and they said, look, we can get you some bit parts. We can get you to be, playing a wrestler or a bouncer. Oh, maybe with your German accent, we can get you to be a Nazi officer in Hogan's Heroes or something like that. But, I didn't listen to all this. These were their rules, not my rules.
Damn, I never put that 2 and 2 together in Hogan's Heroes being a Nazi officer. I didn't start watching Hogan's Heroes until my adult life because my dad watches it as reruns on his television. So I just caught that joke in my adult life. That's amazing.
I was convinced I could do it.
Wow.
That if I worked as hard as I did in bodybuilding, 5 hours a day, and I started getting to work, I started taking acting classes, took English classes, took speech classes, dialogue classes, accent removal classes I even took. I remember running around, a fine wine grows on a vine. You see, because Germans had difficulties with the F and the W and the V. So fine wine grows on the vine. I know what some of you now say is I hope that Arnold got his money back. But let me tell you something. I had a good time doing those things and it really helped me. And finally, I broke through. And I started getting the first parts.
So there's something wonderful here that he is explaining about immersion therapy. So if you want to speak a different language, hell, The Simpsons did this. They sent Bart on a foreign exchange student for an episode one time where he went to France to work on a winery farm. And within like 2 to 3 weeks, he was like, why don't I speak French yet? And all of a sudden he started speaking French. It's an immersion thing. Immersion therapy is what throws you from the precipice of fear off the cliff with a leap of faith into the free fall of uncertainty. Because to traverse the unknown is the greatest of adventures. Don't ever forget that.
TV, Streets of San Francisco, Lucille Ball hired me. I made Pumping Iron, Stay Hungry, and then I got the big break in Conan the Barbarian.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, the director said if we wouldn't have Schwarzenegger, we would have to build one. Now think about that. And then when I did Terminator, I'll be back.
Favorite movie of all time.
One of the most famous lines in a movie history, all because of my crazy accent. Now think about it. The things that the agent said will be totally a detriment and will be impossible for me to get a job, all of a sudden became an asset for me. All of those things, my accent, my body, and everything. So it just shows you never listen that you can't do something. And you have to work your way up. Of course, run for something else first. I mean, it was the same when I ran for governor. The same lines that you have to work your way up, it can't be done. And then, of course, I ran for governor, and the rest, of course, is history. They said you have to start with a small job as mayor, and then as assemblyman, and then as lieutenant governor, and then as governor. And they said, that's the way it works in a political career. I said, I'm not interested in a political career. I want to be a public servant. I want to fix California's problems and bring people together and bring the parties together. So, like I said, I decided to run. I didn't pay attention to the rules, and I made it, and the rest is history. Which, of course, brings me to rule number 3. Don't be afraid to fail.
Sometimes winning looks like losing. You have to fail in order to make a breakthrough and then start succeeding. You just have to do it.
Anything I've ever attempted, I was always willing to fail.
And fail big.
In the movie business, I remember that you pick scripts. Many times you think this is a winning script, but then, of course, you find out later when you do the movie that it didn't work. And the movie goes in the toilet. Now, we have seen my movies, Red Sonja, Hercules in New York, Last Action Heroes. Those movies went in the toilet. But that's okay, because at the same time, I made movies like Terminator and Conan and True Lies and Predator and Twins that went through the roof. So you can't always win, but don't be afraid of making decisions. You can't be paralyzed by fear or failure.
So more is lost to inaction than non-action. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't ever forget that, okay?
Or you will never push yourself. You keep pushing because you believe in yourself and in your vision. And you know that it is the right thing to do, and success will come. So don't be afraid to fail. Which brings me to rule number 4, which is don't listen to the naysayers. I mean, how many times have you heard that you can't do this and you can't do that and it has never been done before? Just imagine if Bill Gates had quit when people said it can't be done. I hear this all the time. As a matter of fact, I love it when someone says that no one has ever done this before, because then when I do it, that means that I'm the first one that has done it. So pay no attention to the people that say it can't be done. I remember my mother-in-law, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, when she started Special Olympics in 1968, people said that it would not work. The experts, the doctors that specialized in mental disabilities and mental retardation said it can't be done. You can't bring people out of the institution. You can't make them participate in sports, in jumping, in swimming, and in running. They will hurt themselves. They will hurt each other. They will drown in the pool. Well, let me tell you something. Now, 40 years later, Special Olympics is one of the greatest organizations in 164 countries, dedicated to people with mental disabilities and with intellectual challenge.
I actually didn't know that she started that.
And she did not take no for an answer. And the same is when you look at Barack Obama. I mean, imagine if he would have listened. If he would have listened to the naysayers, he would have never run for president. People said it couldn't be done, that he couldn't get elected, that he couldn't beat Hillary Clinton, that he would never win the general election. But he followed his own heart. He didn't listen to the you can't, and he changed the course of American history. So over and over you see that if I would have listened to the naysayers, I would still be in the Austrian Alps yodeling. I would never have come to America.
Could you see Arnold with some lederhosen? That would be hilarious.
I would have never met my wonderful wife, Maria Shriver. I would have never had the wonderful 4 kids. I would have never done Terminator, and I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today as governor of the greatest state of the greatest country in the world. So I never listened that you can't. I always listen to myself and said, yes, you can. And that brings me to rule number 5.
Look, can't is can, but haven't yet.
Which is the most important rule of all. Work your butt off. You never want to fail because you didn't work hard enough. I never wanted to lose a competition or lose an election because I didn't work hard enough. I always believed leaving no stone unturned. Muhammad Ali, one of my great heroes, had a great line in the 70s when he was asked, how many sit-ups do you do? He said, I don't count my sit-ups. I only start counting when it starts hurting. When I feel pain, that's when I start counting, because that's when it really counts. That's what makes you a champion. And that's the way it is with everything. No pain, no gain.
What is your threshold and ability to be able to push through and to be able to really hit your goals? Because think about it. Your goals, obviously, are not on the level that you're at now, or else you already have them. So you're gonna have to do some work and like serious character development, and that is not easy. It's sweat,
so many of those lessons,
tears, all of it.
I apply in life, I've
all
learned from sports, let me tell you, and especially that one. And let me tell you, it is important to have fun in life, of course, but when you're out there partying, horsing around, someone out there at the same time is working hard. Someone is getting smarter and someone is winning. Just remember that. Now, if you want to coast through life, don't pay any attention to any of those rules. But if you want to win, there's absolutely no way around hard work. None of my rules, by the way, of success will work unless you do. I've always figured out that there's 24 hours a day. You sleep 6 hours, and you have 18 hours left.
I love that.
I know there's some of you out there now and says, well, wait
sleep
a minute,
faster.
I sleep 8 hours or 9 hours. Well, then just sleep faster, I would recommend. Because you only need to sleep 6 hours, then you have 18 hours left, and there's a lot of things you can accomplish. As a matter of fact, Ted Turner used to say always, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. And of course, all you know, you know already those things, because otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here today. Just remember, you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in a pocket. And that takes me to rule number 6, which is a very important rule. It's about giving back. Whatever path that you take in your life, you must always find time to give something back. Something back to your community, give something back to your state or to your country. And my father-in-law, Sergeant Shriver, who...
Shoot, you need not look further than the law of conservation of energy about how energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's just recycled. You know, the energy that you're taking in from the universe that is blessing you with stuff, you obviously need to find a way in order to use your skills and your artistic talent, or whatever it is that it is, to give back to the world a positive light. You know, I completely resonate with this.
Is a great American, truly great American, who started the Peace Corps, the Job Corps, legal aid to the poor. He said at Yale University to the students at the commencement speech, tear down that mirror. Tear down that mirror that makes you always look at yourself. And you will be able to look beyond that mirror, and you will see the millions of people that need your help. And let me tell you something, reaching out and helping people will bring you more satisfaction than anything else you've ever done. As a matter of fact, today, after having worked for Special Olympics and having started after-school programs, have promoted fitness, and now with my job as governor, I can tell you, playing a game of chess with an 8-year-old kid in an inner-city school is far more exciting for me than walking down another red carpet of a movie premiere. So let me tell you, as you prepare to go off into the world, remember those 6 rules. Trust yourself, break some rules, don't be afraid to fail, ignore the naysayers, work like hell, and give something back.
I think that is definitely one of the most important videos that a person can watch, because it is really becoming of one's character to want to emulate success. Because if you don't want to be successful, if you're a person who has no hopes and dreams, nobody's going to want to be around you. You're not going to have friends except other terrible people, okay? And nobody wants to be around anybody like that, okay? Everybody wants to be around somebody who has something to bring to the dinner table, because we're all human beings on this planet trying to survive on this spaceship. And please consider becoming one of the contributors to society instead of just a consumer of society. So it's just a very fine line between that two dogmas. And all you gotta do is just choose to step over that line. Become a creator of content today. I promise you it's worth it. And what better time to live in than 2021 when on the internet it is the easiest to become successful and wealthy. Okay, just look to NFTs. I mean, for God's sakes, NFTs are the future. Non-fungible tokens, that's what NFT stands for. So if you're curious, thank you all so much for tuning into the video though. Arnold has taught me so much through my life, not personally or anything, just me learning from him and his success stories and everything. You know, he is somebody who is truly to be marveled at because he has really created an entire field that is like uniquely him. And if there really was ever anybody on the planet besides him, you know, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, people like that, that are such trailblazers, such pioneers, that they have created an indelible mark on history. Okay, so I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys glean some insight from this, and I hope you all will tune into the next one. If you're new to the channel, please consider giving us a sub. I love you guys so much. If you have any more react videos of this type, let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion. And I'll actually be typing the rules in the comments as well. That way you all can write them on a little post-it note and put them in front of your desk, so that way we can start seeing them every day and to try and start emulating some success. So I appreciate you guys very much, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.
I'm talking about not what your parents and teachers want you to be, but you. I'm talking about figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy, no matter how crazy it may sound to the people.